All right. And now with this just in, there's a tweet by the security Marco who says that South Africa's ambassador to the United States is no longer welcome in our great country. Ibrahim Rasool is a race-baiting politician who hates America and hates POTUS. It also goes on to say that we have nothing to discuss with him, and so he is considered persona non grata. We've got Simon who's going to be speaking to us now as this has just come in. Simon, thank you for joining us. This tweet has come in, of course, with the ambassador to America being Mr. Ibrahim Rasool being said that he's no longer welcome in that country. Does this come as a surprise?
Yeah, this is a stunning development that has just broken here in Washington within the last few minutes. And if Secretary of State Marco Rubio's posting on Elon Musk's social media channel is taken to its logical conclusion, it suggests that the South African ambassador to the United States, Ibrahim Rasool, is about to be expelled from the United States by the Trump administration. In this tweet, Marco Rubio writes, South Africa's ambassador is no longer welcome in our great country. He describes Ibrahim Rasool as a race-baiting politician who hates America and hates the President of the United States, Donald Trump. We have nothing to discuss with him, and so he is now considered persona non grata. That coming from the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, who links in that posting on X to an article published by the pro-Trump right-wing Breitbart News website, written by Joel Pollak, an influential voice in Donald Trump's ear when it comes to the nature of the U.S. relationship with South Africa. He reports in a story that was published earlier today that the South African ambassador told participants in a foreign policy seminar on Friday that President Donald Trump is leading a white supremacist movement in America and around the world. Rasool reports Breitbart was addressing the Mapumbangwe Institute for Strategic Reflection in Johannesburg in attempting to explain Trump's recent foreign policy stances against South Africa's property expropriation legislation. According to Breitbart, and I have not independently confirmed what the ambassador said, I'm taking this off the Breitbart report, Ambassador Rasool said that white supremacism was motivating Trump's disrespect for the current hegemonic order of the world, including institutions like the United Nations and the G20, and described Donald Trump's Make America Great Again movement as a white supremacist response to growing demographic diversity in the United States. So on the basis of that report, which clearly Marco Rubio has read, and I suspect it has been drawn to Marco Rubio's attention by some of those voices who have been driving the diplomatic downgrade in the relationship between the United States and South Africa. Based on that, Secretary of State Marco Rubio is deeming Ibrahim Rasool persona non grata in the United States. This is the lowest point in the history of South African-US relations. It would appear to indicate that Ibrahim Rasool is going to have to pack his bags and leave the United States, that President Ramaphosa now has a major diplomatic crisis, foreign policy crisis on his hands. All of this coming, of course, after Marco Rubio boycotted a meeting of G20 foreign ministers in Johannesburg a few weeks back, and the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent also boycotted a meeting of finance ministers, both of those meetings preparatory, heading up to the G20 in November when President Donald Trump was due to be traveling to South Africa for the Leaders' Summit. We still don't know whether he is going to do that. But this ups the ante in the row between the United States and South Africa that is partly about the Expropriation Act, with Donald Trump and Marco Rubio both repeating disinformation, insisting that the expropriation of Afrikaner farmers is underway in South Africa, that farms are being taken away from farmers without compensation, even though government, of course, has been planning to send a delegation here to try and brief the US government about what is actually happening on the ground in South Africa. There are other issues that have irritated the United States as well, including, of course, South Africa's efforts at the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, to brand Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, a war criminal. South Africa has been accused of siding with Hamas and the Palestinians, and essentially of being on the wrong side of history by the Trump administration. But this is now an absolute five-alarm crisis for the government of President Cyril Ramaphosa, with the American government, the American Secretary of State, and remember that the ambassador here, like all diplomats, is accredited through the State Department, now basically being told by Marco Rubio to pack his bags and go home. It's an unimaginable moment, frankly, in the history of the US relationship with South Africa, a lower point than anything we even saw during the apartheid era, and something that completely changes the trajectory of the relationship at the very moment when preparations are supposed to be underway for President Trump's visit to South Africa later this year for the G20 foreign ministers, for the G20 world leaders meeting that President Ramaphosa is due to be hosting. And of course, he's supposed to be handing the presidency of the G20 over to President Donald Trump so that he can host the G20 summit here in the United States next year. So huge questions now for the future of this bilateral relationship, for the immediate future of Ambassador Ibrahim Rasool. And of course, it's important to underscore this decision by the Trump administration based on that Breitbart News report. And again, I can't tell you if that's an accurate reflection of what Ibrahim Rasool said in that colloquium earlier on Friday. But certainly, whatever he said has attracted the US government's attention, and not in a good way as far as the bilateral relationship between Washington and Pretoria is concerned.
Well, certainly. I mean, that tweet was posted a little under 20 minutes ago, Simon. So a lot of reaction that we will be expecting from many others, and most especially the South African government, with regards to what seemingly is a deteriorating diplomatic spat between the two nations.
All right. So that is the issue shared by Newsroom Africa, saying U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has called for the expulsion of South Africa's Ambassador Ibrahim Rasool from the U.S. Rasool is said to have told participants in the foreign policy seminar on Friday that the U.S. President Donald Trump was leading a white supremacist movement in America and around the world. Newsroom Africa's Washington correspondent has the details. Well, you have actually already watched the video, and this was actually something from Newsroom Africa saying how I don't know how to even put the word here, but it's actually bad to see this as a country having your embassy or a governor or an ambassador in another country being asked to leave. With actually immediate effect though. That is what is happening between South Africa and then the United States. You guys have actually saw it yourself, and I don't know what to say, but it actually happened over the week, and then it got trending all over the place. And South Africa government have actually come out saying that they will maintain the diplomatic way between the US and try to notice how they can go about that. So that is what is happening. But you can also share your point of view at the comment section and let us know. This is something still ongoing, and we are still getting to the bottom of this. So it's still hot in the cake right now, and I just wanted you guys to see what is happening. And as you can see by the correspondent of the News Africa, he has actually talked a lot and shared most of the points of view concerning this issue. So let's actually wait and see how things will go about, and I'll be so glad then I'll do some little research on it and we can discuss it and bisect it more and more. So this is African Time. I just want to see what you think about this, and I'll call your comment and review on this, and let's see how we'll lead this conversation going forward. Okay, see you guys around. Thank you for your time.